This is Valerie. It's Esthers Purpose. There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Valerie Gilchrist, and this is Esthers Purpose. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am so excited about my guest tonight. My guest tonight is Jamitra Waddell. I just met her over the summer and was watching her show and just enjoyed it so much and just enjoyed all the stories that she told that I wanted to bring her on my show and just share her with you all. So you all are in for a real treat. But before I introduce her, let me say that we are WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Esthers Purpose, and we are a nonprofit organization. So we do take donations, and those donations actually contribute to us being able to broadcast nationally and internationally so that we can encourage those who are going through various struggles of life just to keep going and keep going through those struggles because there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I want to now introduce my guest tonight, Jamitra Waddell. She is the only Live Past Crazy specialist. Jamitra is an award-winning and Amazon's international best-selling author of Fearless Woman, Born to Give Thanks and Transition to Freedom. She has had the opportunity to share the screen with the late actor Tommy Ford in the movie The Last Time. Jamitra is passionate about sharing why she is the only Live Past Crazy specialist. So there is no place better to be than here with me, she says. Jamitra is a strong advocate for victims and survivors of domestic violence. As a former preacher's wife, she speaks candidly about the issues of domestic violence and abuse with emphasis and empowering individuals who are victims and survivors of abuse. She believes by educating and bringing awareness to the community, she truly believes survivors are the teachers who can carry the message of education, awareness, and empowerment to their families and communities. Jamitra is the founder of Be Fearless, Inc., a nonprofit organization that aids women transitioning their thinking from victim to survivor to overcomer. At 40, she instantly understood that she had to start being who she was born to be, a leader, a teacher, a trainer, a thought creator, a rebel. Welcome, Jamitra. How are you tonight?
I'm peachy.
That is great. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so very much for taking time out tonight, this evening, to be on my broadcast. Now, what I do with all of my guests, after I introduce and talk about how wonderful you are now, I always want to go back. Now, in your introduction, you told us a little bit, but I want you to go back just before you became the Live Past Crazy specialist, when you were living in crazy, and just give us some of that, so our audience who doesn't know you, because you are all over the place. We can catch you on all social media platforms, and you do a great job, and I really enjoyed watching you myself. But I wanted to bring you on my show because I wanted my listeners to hear you. So just share with us some of the things that you have been through in your life that brought you to where you are today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Valley, for having me first. I'm excited. And I watched the show, so I watched WYTV7 as well. So I'd like to tell people that I was knee deep in crazy. With my first husband, I got inundated and as a first lady early at the age of 25. And so the stigma that comes along with that, and being married to an older man, because my husband was 25 years older than I was. So a lot of the ladies, I call them the sweet sisters in the church. A lot of the sweet sisters gave me a hard time because they was like, you're too young to be a wife. You're too young to be a first lady. You can't possibly be over the missionaries. You can't tell us what to do.
Oh, no.
No, you can't be a deaconess. You can't handle the elements of consecration. Like, you can't do this. And, with all of that, being married and everybody, thinking that my husband was just this wonderful person. And then I'm going home with him every night, where I was allowed to use the bathroom once a day, eat once a day. I went to work when he told me to. I went to sleep when he told me to, and I'm getting beat in the church office before he goes out to preach. And then when he goes out to preach, and I'm sitting on the front row, and he gets up and says, to my lovely wife, young Mitra, who I owe everything to. Without her, I'm absolutely nothing. And of course, all the ladies are like, oh my God, he's so wonderful. And I'm thinking, well, he just pushed me out of a moving car this morning, or he pulled me by my hair over the weekend down the hallway. You know, he tried to kill me a couple of times, and I'm thinking, we're praying for two different things. I'm praying to live, and you're praying for me to be a better wife and to stay, you know, in an abusive marriage. So I became up close and personal with crazy, and it didn't stop. So I left my abuser, left with the clothes on my back with a 3-month-old preemie and a 7-year-old. And my family was 400 miles away. So, Mr. Valley, my car had no registration, no insurance, no tag, and it only held $3 worth of gas. And all I had was my purse. I had no money, no nothing. And that $3 worth of gas. And if you went over 50, the front wheel would fall off. And that car took me to the next city over an hour and 30 minutes away on $3 worth of gas. I was like, thank you, Jesus, for keeping me, you know, to safety. But, you know, then my abuser, he found where I lived, and he had me reported missing and told the FBI I kidnapped the children and that my kids had been sexually assaulted. So it didn't stop after I left. It just kept going. Like, it didn't stop. And then I realized I can't keep participating in this crazy anymore. So I took matters into my own hands. I got the marriage annulled because, you know, I forgot what he forgot to mention was I was wife number 5. He was still married to wife number 4 in another state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I couldn't find anybody that was willing to help me. So I learned the laws of North Carolina myself, and I represented myself, and, you know, and got it done because I just absolutely refused to continue to participate in this crazy. So I tell people, I know crazy. I got an up close and personal relationship with it.
Right. You're not by yourself, though. You know, all of us have our crazy.
Yes.
You know, we might have different degrees of crazy, but we all have our crazy. Everybody has been there, done that. We can't point fingers. We can't look at anybody and say, oh, I can't believe it. Ah!
That's right. That's right. Because we don't know.
No, we don't know. We don't know. So that moment when you decided that you were leaving, did something happen at that moment, or it was just the preponderance of everything and you just were fed up at that moment?
Well, that weekend, he had actually tried to prostitute me out at the local army base because he said I had married him for his mother's money, and he wanted his $25,000 back. So he was going to prostitute me out until I made the $25,000 back. And then he sodomized me in front of my youngest daughter after he tied me up. And then after he was finished, he nicely called the lady that we were going to marriage counseling with. And, you know, I wasn't allowed to say anything during counseling because, you know, he given me the rules. You don't open up your mouth. And so he called her and said, hey, you know, she's had a mental breakdown. I'm afraid for me and the children, and I want to commit her to a mental hospital. And the only reason they didn't commit me was because it was the weekend. And she was like, I'm not going to do it till I can see her and evaluate her myself. And so that was the weekend. And on that Monday, a former church member called, and she was like, I just been praying and thinking about you. And I finally told her what was going on. And she was like, I'm not getting off this phone until you walk out the door. And I stood in front of that front door for 30 minutes. And she called at 7:16 that morning. And I stood there for 30 minutes crying because I knew as soon as I opened the door, it's going to say door open. And he was a very, you know, quick man because he worked out every single day. I was like, he's going to be down these stairs and stop me. And she was like, either you leave or I'm calling the police. And I just ran out the door with to this day, I still have the phone I ran out the door with.
Wow.
And I dropped the kids. I told my oldest, grab one baby doll. I had 2 diapers and a can of milk. And I threw the baby in the back seat and I said, hold your sister. And we took off telephone and all. I didn't take no jewelry. I I took literally the clothes on my back, and that was it. So, and that's what did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you left, where did you go?
So I went to Raleigh, and then I stayed with that church member, and I was like, this is the first place he's going to come look. So I can't stay here because he's going to kill you. And she was like, he's not going to kill me. You know, you got some of those friends that's kind of rough around the edges. She was like, I wish he would come to my house.
Right.
And so I was like, no, but I ended up staying at a shelter. And then once I was sure he wasn't coming back to her house, I eventually went back to her house and stayed with her until, you know, I got a job at IBM, was able to find us a house to rent, you know, and just get myself on my feet. And when I moved in that house, I had a bed my aunt slept in, and it was one of them old wooden frame beds.
Right.
And so me and the girls slept in that, and that's all I had in that house. And I was just as happy as a little lark.
Yes, I bet you were. I know you were. Now, let's move over to, okay, so you made the decision, you left, and you started moving.
Yes.
But how long were you in that situation?
2 years.
2 years. Okay,
Yes.
so those of us who all dealt with trauma, we know that it doesn't end just because you leave emotionally and mentally.
Right.
So what did you do to help your own self, or did someone else identify it, or did you identify it and know, you know what, I need to get some help with my thinking and what I went through?
Well, it was something it was something that I decided myself because, you know, every day I'm just sitting in a bed and I'm crying, and I couldn't go to, and this is before I found a job, and I didn't want to take care of my children. I didn't want to take a bath. I just laid in the bed and cried all day. If a kid cried, I cried with her. And I was like, we just gonna cry together. And I was like, I can't function like this. And so I started going, I reached out to the local shelter, and they offered free counseling. And so I started going to see a counselor there. And it was there that there was a book on that bookshelf, and it was called, it's Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind. And I still have that book on my bookshelf back here. And I read that book, and I read it every single day. And, you know, between that and prayer and counseling, I was able to get my mental together and realize, you know, that your mental health is essential to, you know, I couldn't take care of kids. I couldn't go to work. There was nothing I could do for anybody if I stayed in this crazy. So I was like, let me take this serious. I'm not going to allow him to continue to take up any more space. He's not here, so he can't have any more space. So it was something I just, you know, I took on myself and knew I had to do.
That's good. That's good. I want to remind our viewing and listening audience that this is Esthers Purpose. I'm Valerie Gilchrist. My guest today is Jamitra Waddell, the only live past crazy specialist. There's no better place to be than here with her. I know that's so well. But I want to remind them that, you know, WYTV7 is a nonprofit organization. We do broadcast nationally and internationally. $5 donation would go a long way to help us continue our broadcast. So what I want to ask you now is, so we know what you're doing now, and so we've heard this story. But before I let you talk about what you're doing now, what I want to talk about are your kids, because, you know, a lot of times I don't think we as parents understand how our crazy impacts our kids.
Right.
For some reason, we think it's separate and that they were buffered from it some kind of way, but they're really not. Even if they don't talk to us about it, they still will manifest these things. And a lot of times how we typically find out is, you know, as they get into those older teenage years and we start seeing friends and behaviors and, you know, all those kind of things is when we kind of figure it out. So tell me, how did you deal with that with your children, with your girls?
So it was really the oldest, because the youngest was, she was fresh out of the hospital. She was only 3 months old. So the oldest, we went to counseling together. But like you said, you have to pay attention. And then I realized that my crazy was affecting her, like my habits of checking the windows, checking the doors, always looking over my shoulder. is that a car following us? And it was the little things that I said that she kept picking up on. And then the older she got, she was just so much more reserved. Like friends couldn't come to her house. She didn't want to go to their house. They couldn't come here. And a lot of her friends was like, well, we feel you're our best friends, but you don't tell us any of your business. She was like, I don't trust people. I don't trust people like that. And that has been, and she's 21 now, and she's just now kind of breaking out of that. And we left when she was 7. So she's just now breaking out of that, where she's able to trust people or, not constantly look over her shoulder. And because they watch us every day. And if I'm constantly jumping and bumping at every noise, she's gonna do the same thing. And so I had to create a safe place here. So at home, they know this is a safe place. Nobody can come here if you don't want them to come here. So it was truly a working process for her. And then the youngest one doesn't understand because she doesn't know the story. So she doesn't know why you can't go home with people, why you can't put your real name out there, why people can't know this, and she doesn't understand that. And at 14, I don't expect her to watching her.
Yeah, you kind of froze up there a little bit on it, but I think we got that.
The phone call came through. Sorry about that.
Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. But I think that we got that.
Okay.
So now let's go to, when did you make a decision that you wanted to go public and tell the world your story?
Well, I actually, at work one day, this young girl, and if you've ever been in that kind of situation, you kind of know the signs without anybody ever saying anything. And so I pulled her to the side and I asked her, was she okay? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, let me just share something with you. And I shared my story with her. And then the next day she came back and she was like, you saved my life. If I didn't think that somebody like you would go through that, I wouldn't think that I could make it. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And then I met a lady and she asked me some questions and we started talking, and it just started becoming a process where I just felt led to that if I didn't tell my story, then somebody was going to stay there and they were going to die in that situation. And I couldn't have that on me, knowing that I could have said something or told my story to somebody to help them. And because I chose not to, they died. And so I had to take it that seriously. And once I did that, telling it in the beginning was hard because I was still so attached to it. And but the more you tell it, the more you grow, you become detached. It's something that happened to me. It's no longer who I am. And so I can tell it without the emotion and the feeling because, I'm kind of removed from it. And so it got easier. Again, it was really, really hard. It was hard.
Yeah, I like that. It's not who you are. It's something that happened to you, because we own everything that goes on with us, especially we as women, because we're such that emotional side. And so, we make it all of a sudden our identity, what we went through. It's separating. And so I like the way that you said that. So you have how many books out now?
I have 3.
Okay.
So we got Fearless Woman, Born to Give Thanks, which is part 1 of my story. And part 2, I was going to leave it at part 1. And then I found that people didn't believe me. People that know me as JoJo, there's like, there's no way that happened to you. So book 2 is Transition to Freedom. And it's actually, the rest of my story. And in the back of the book, I've marked out all the information, but it's copies of the restraining order in the court documents, so people can see, that this really did happen to me. And then book 3 is just a compilation of me and a few other authors just telling our story. And that one is God Says I Am Battle Scar Free. So we just, we tell our story in hopes that it's going to help somebody, because it doesn't always have to be you think domestic violence, it's going to be a sad sob story, and it doesn't have to be. There is life after crazy if you choose to.
Now, where did you get the Live Past Crazy specialist? Where did you get that? Where'd that come from?
Have no clue. One day I'm talking and it came out, and I was like, I kind of like how that sounds. And because I kept telling people, I know crazy. And I said, I know crazy, but I promise you, you can get past it. And it kind of just evolved. The more I talked about it, it just kind of evolved into that. And I said, well, there's only one of me, and so I've got to be the only one out here.
Okay. Yes. I love that. I love that. Because when I first was hearing it, I was like, the only live past crazy specialist. What does that mean? I think that's what kind of grabbed me and reeled me in the first place. Because I was going, what? Oh, I've got to listen to this because I didn't,
Because that's what everybody says. Now, baby, what does that mean again? That's what usually people tell. Right. So once I tell them, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. So it's a conversation piece. So people will ask me, and then it's an opportunity for me to tell my story.
So tell us about your show, though, that comes on. Your specific one that you do by yourself, your show. Talk about that.
Okay. So the Fearless Morning Show it all started just to promote an event that I was actually doing. And it kind of grew into its own self. And, people started listening and it started growing, where I just shared some of the things or the tips or my thoughts and ideas of how you can stay in crazy if you allow yourself, and how you can get out of crazy if you allow yourself. It's just really your opinion. And at first I had a hard time because I was like, who am I to be telling anybody, anything? I'm just little JoJo from North Carolina. Who am I? But, eventually it came back to, if I don't speak up, then somebody is not going to get whatever it is they're supposed to get. And it's got to come from me. It can't come from anybody else but me. And so we're a year strong into the Fearless Morning Show.
Yes. I tell you, if I hadn't have been out for that time convalescent, I probably would have never seen it. But I just enjoyed that. That show got me through all of those weeks while I was at home. And I mean, I would set my clock because I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, well, because because everybody has their crazy, and the thing is, it's not really unique. Your how you got there might be a little different. Yeah. But all of us have had it. So we've all shared in that. And we've shared in when, like, it was a part of who we are.
Yeah.
So I like, when you talk about how you got to separate what happened to you to who you are. And some of us, it happened so early in life. Like for me, my stuff was so early, all the way from childhood, all the way through that, it was so much a part of me. I was 50. I'm 56 now. It was 50 when I finally made my declaration. You know what? When I understood 50 was the year of Jubilee, I decided, look, I'm going to be free at 50.
Yes, ma'am.
I've only been living past crazy for 6 years. I'll be 7 in April. And it was so wonderful to just make the declaration. And then start walking through it. So when I started watching you all show, I said, yes. Okay, so this is a real thing. It's not just me who made this.
It's not just you.
No, that you finally had to just draw that line in your life and say, you know what? I really don't have to keep living like this. I don't. Exactly. And just start. And then it's good to be around other people, because a lot of times when if you don't share your story a lot, if a lot of people don't know you, where you can't really talk about it and get it out. And then for people to say, you know what, that happened to me too, or, that was kind of similar to what I went through, and here's how long I did it. Because as long as you stay out there on that island by yourself, it's really hard to recover from those things.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then, like how when you were talking about how, when you have to, now even get your identity.
Yes.
So how did you create almost your own identity? Because that was so impactful that happened. How did you create your identity? This is who I really am. How did you do that?
Well, I went back to who I was pretending to be. And I was like, that didn't work either before I got married. And then I went back to, you know, when I was a kid, the things that I actually loved to do. And then I thought of it, why am I trying to make this? Because sometimes we can make things so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I trying to make this so complicated? JoJo, it's pure and simple. We know what you don't want. We know what you don't like. So if we know that, then what we do like and what we do want should be very easy. And so I sat down one day and I said, you know what? I want to finish my master's degree. I did. I was like, I want a PhD. Okay, I did. You know, and so I just went through, and then along the way, I said, you know what? I want to have this characteristic. I want to think this way. And I just kept adding, and it became more of, I'm building I talk about new rules to new you all the time. And so I'm building a new me, and it became an exciting thing. And, you know, I put those standards out there, and people thought I was for real crazy. They was like, okay, you done lost your mind for real. I was like, no. But because this is things that I've got to put in place for where I want to go. And then I realized I was building my foundation. And it was a great opportunity. I didn't have anything else to lose. Everything had been taken from me.
Right.
You are very humble when you go and ask somebody for underwear and a bra to wear. That's very humbling.
Yes, it is.
And asking for food. So I couldn't go down any further.
Right.
So build what I want. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, well, I'm going to build this the way I want it to be and how I want it to look. And that's what I did. And my oldest has been there watching along the way. And so, you know, you hope that they pick up stuff, you know, as they go. And to them, this is just who mommy is now. Youngest Rosie thinks so anyway. She doesn't know. She doesn't know that crazy.
That's right. Well, before we go off, I want you to tell our viewing and listening audience how they can contact you. If someone wants you, if they want your books, if they want you to come speak, if they want to watch your show, tell them how to contact you if they heard your message and say, you know what, I'm there right now, and her life was like mine, and I just want to reach out and see if I could even talk to her and get some encouragement. let our audience know how they can reach you.
Okay. And I will tell them I'm not a counselor. However, I understand every aspect of from depression to suicide. I've been there. So, you know, I'm that listening ear of somebody. It's a judgment-free zone. So of course, my name is so unique. If you put in Yamitra JoJo, I'm the only one that's going to pop up. I guarantee you.
Right.
So you can follow me on all social media. But if you go to livepastcrazy.com, that's the website where they can join. And then there's a contact me section over there as well. And then January the 16th, I have the 5 steps to live past crazy. So if anybody's interested in that, it's bit.ly/5 to life. Where we're going to go over the 5 easy things that I did to stop living in crazy once I figured it out. And then this holiday season since October, I've had 4 deaths in my family. And it was, you know, one was the day after Christmas. And it was, you know, if I didn't have these 5 steps in place, let me tell you, I would have been sitting somewhere in a corner in a minute. So I share my 5 steps of how to live past crazy. So people don't have to, because there is, like, after crazy, the Fearless Morning Show is on Facebook. And if you just type in Fearless Morning Show, we come up. We're on there every weekday morning at 7:15, bright and early, in the car.
Yes, car edition.
In the car edition. That's right.
That is right. Well,
the books are on my website, but they're also on Amazon. So if you type in Fearless Woman or Transition to Freedom, or even my name, I have an author's page. All the books are out there as well.
Okay, that is awesome. All right. Well, I so thank you for being on our show tonight, on my show tonight. I have really enjoyed it, because when I started, you know, going back for my new year, I said, now who do I want on my show? And I just started everybody that I was listening to and I had been following and all. I was like, okay, I know. I'm getting ready to ask them to come be on my show. So we can have this kind of dialogue, you know.
That's right.
Because our audience is all across the globe, we don't know who's going to be listening to the show. who's going to be needing this kind of encouragement. And, you know, we're living in such stressful times.
Oh, yes.
You know, everything is going upside down and all around right now, all over across the nation and around the globe. So, you know, we want to be light and be encouragement that, number one, you're not the only one that's going through it.
That's right.
And we're not belittling it because you're not the only one. What we're saying is you're not the only one. There are a lot of us that have been through a lot of things. And let's just get some tools out there to kind of help. And so I wanted to bring you on because I know you have the books out there and people need to follow you and listen to you, you know, and what you're saying, because yes, you're not a counselor, but yet you somebody who not only lived it, but you survived it and you're thriving, you know, even though you went through it. And some people might never think that they'd be able to do that.
Exactly.
So before we leave our show tonight, I want to make sure that everyone knows, again, you all can always watch us. Follow me on Esthers Purpose on Facebook. My personal page is Valerie Parker Gilchrist. My Instagram page has Valerie Gilchrist as well as Esthers Purpose. So there's lots of those platforms you can follow me on and watch us. If you would like to be on my show, you can always, you know, message me, inbox me on Facebook. Love to have you. If you've got a great story to tell, we'd love for you to, you know, come on the show and tell that story. But Demetra, I have so enjoyed this right here.
Well, I'm glad I did too. I had a good time.
Well, you know, I try for all of us, you know, we got to tell our stories, but I tried it for us to make sure that we have a good time in it because, again, we want to bring light.
Yes.
And we just want to make sure everybody knows that
the end result.
Yes, that there is an end result and you can get on this side of the story as well.
That's right.
Yes, you can. But thank you so very much. So hang on just a minute. Well, everybody, thank you all so much for joining us on another Esthers Purpose. Always grateful for those that watch us and follow us and share and do all those kind of things. I'm so thankful that you all keep following us show after show after show. This is our second season and I have really enjoyed it. And we're going to talk to you guys again soon. Thank you so very much again for watching. You all have a great night. Bye-bye.